What's up, guys? Welcome to our Eastern Conference final prediction video. So, two unlikely teams going to the Eastern Conference final. You have the Florida Panthers, who haven't made the Stanley Cup finals since 1996, and they have a shot at beating the Carolina Hurricanes and going to the finals since 96. And you have the Hurricanes, who haven't gone to the finals since 2006, where they won their first Stanley Cup. So they have a chance of going to the finals for the second time ever. These two teams have never faced off against each other in the playoffs, so it's going to be exciting what to expect from both of them. But there's two things they have in common. They have good scoring depth and they're fantastic forechecking teams.
Yep.
These two teams will wear you down physically and mentally. So, and they have done that against their opponents. The
Yep.
Hurricanes, eliminate the New York Islanders doing that, and they beat the New Jersey Devils doing the same thing. And Florida taking out two of the best teams in the East, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins, and that was a huge upset. So, it's fantastic how both teams won in 5 games in the second round, and now they're set to face off against each other. But someone has to go to the finals, and it's refreshing to see either or going to the finals. So that's going to be exciting. And not only that, but we're still awaiting news on who's going to go to the Western Conference final. So that's going to be exciting as well. So we'll see. We'll have a closer matchup of who they could potentially face in the finals. But we're focusing on this matchup and starting off with the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe has been such a key playoff player. Alexander Barkov, very key as well. Anthony Duclair finally woke up in the second round versus the Toronto Maple Leafs and played some solid hockey. Nick Cousins scoring the OT goal in overtime to eliminate the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sam Bennett, I love this guy. He's able to score goals, he's able to set up goals, and he is physical. He likes to fight. There was big brawls against the Maple Leafs. He was implicated within those fights, and same thing against the Bruins. Matthew Tkachuk, sure, he didn't score a goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he did notch himself a couple of assists, and he's a very important figure on and off the ice, especially in the locker room. And that's a guy that you want to play for and play with. And just, looking at the bottom six as well, they're doing fantastic. And in terms of their defense, on paper, like we said multiple times, not the best, but they're getting the job done. Radko Gudas is a guy who gets under a lot of people's skin, and he did that once again against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sure, he celebrated in Joseph Woll's face after the OT winner yesterday, which was kind of disrespectful, and people were saying that Toronto Maple Leaf players should have gone and fought him. But it's yeah, I understand he is a rookie goalie and you're kind of hurting his confidence, but he has nothing to be ashamed of because he did a fantastic job replacing Eli Samsonov. So there's that. But the Florida Panthers, what are you expecting from them, Luca, in terms of this matchup versus the Hurricanes? What do they have to do to beat the Hurricanes and go to the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well, I think there's a few factors. Obviously, if you look at Carolina, they're pretty similar to Florida in terms of forechecking. I think they do a very good job forechecking, and I think that Florida just kind of has to stick to their game plan here. They played Boston, they beat them in very good fashion when they played them in round one. They were a team that was very offensively minded, hit the body. You know, they weren't afraid to go to battle against the Bruins, right? And then they go against Toronto and they stuck to their game plan. And I think that at this point, it's not about the opponent that you're playing against. I think it's more so a situation of you have to stick to what's working. And Florida just has to continue to do so. And the other thing that's very interesting, and I want to give a lot of credit to not only the Carolina Hurricanes, but even the Florida Panthers, is they've had fantastic goaltending in these playoffs. And I want to give a lot of credit to Sergei Bobrovsky first and foremost, because he was fantastic in this Leaf series. A lot of the reasons why Florida were able to play and beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in round number two is because Bobrovsky stood on his head. And if you look at the games, he let in 2 goals in every single game he played against the Leafs, right? In game one, they won 4-2. Game two, they won 3-2. Game three, they won 3-2. Game four, they lost. They only lost 2-1. And then game five, they won 3-2. Bobrovsky was fantastic. And I think that at this point, if you look at Freddie Anderson also in Carolina, he has been stellar in these playoffs as well for the Hurricanes. So this is going to be, I think, a very interesting goalie matchup just between these two teams because you have two goaltenders that are hot and playing fantastic hockey. And you have two teams that are getting scoring from every single player in their lineup from top to bottom. And, one guy I want to give an honorable mention to, obviously, we talk about Matthew Kachuk, we talk about, um, you know, Carter Verhage and Sam Bennett as the key pieces. But I want to give a lot of credit to Aaron Ekblad in this series because Aaron Ekblad ended up getting 5 points in this series after going the first round pointless. He was a big factor in the reason why Florida beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was more productive in this series, which allowed him to ultimately, help the Florida Panthers win some games. But not only that, Nick Cousins scored some big goals, right? He scored the first goal of the series between the Leafs and Florida. It was the first goal of that series. And then not only that, he scores the overtime winner to eliminate the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it's been such a great story. So I think Florida is a very exciting team. I think they're a fascinating story. I think that they're really playing good hockey, and I got to give credit to Paul Maurice for that and for the team in front of just the team that Bill Zito's constructed. It seems like it's a team that could go all the way and win it. They've been the unsung heroes so far in these playoffs, and they've gotten risen up to the challenge and just been able to win. So credit where credit is due. And if you look at Carolina, I want to give an honorable mention to Carolina because they've been fantastic. But if you look at their star guys, and I'm talking about Sebastian Aho, I'm talking about Marty Nietzsche, I'm talking about Kakanyemi to some extent, Brett Burns. Yeah, these guys are getting points, and Carolina's getting scoring from everybody in the lineup. But look who's second and third in points. Jesper Fast, who's got 8 points in 11 games, and Jordan Martinook, who has 10 points in these playoffs. He had 9 against the New Jersey Devils in that series. So it's just crazy to me how Carolina's gotten goal scoring from every single person in the lineup, and that their depth is really the difference has really been the difference for them in this series. Jordan Martin, like I said, big unsung hero in the second round for Carolina. Jesper Fat has scored some big goals all season. Kakanyemi, I know he's a -3 and he's only got 6 points in 11 games, but he's played some good hockey. I've been impressed with his hockey over as of late. And then obviously Brent Burns and has been fantastic for them at the back end. And then Freddie Anderson's been really good. I think this series, honestly speaking, with just how good both these teams are, I think it goes to 7.
I'm hoping it goes to
I
7
hope it goes
games.
to 7 too. I don't know if I can pick a winner here. I'm on the Florida hype train. I like what Florida's done. I think that they've beaten Boston and Toronto. I think that they're not phased to play Carolina. And I think Carolina is playing a different opponent in Florida. I know New Jersey was offensively gifted and very talented, but they're playing a different beast in Florida. And I don't think that Carolina is not necessarily expecting it, or that they're ready for it, but I think it's going to be a tough test for them. I'm going to go Florida in 7. I want to see Florida back in the Cup final for the first time since 1996 and the first time since I was born to see Florida back in the Stanley Cup or in the Stanley Cup final. So I think that would be a really good opportunity for them and for the city of Florida. And I mean, it would also be really crazy to see the 8th seeded team in the Eastern Conference go all the way to the Stanley Cup final again, like the LA Kings did.
But
Uh,
look, the Florida Panthers, okay, if they go to the finals, that means it's going to be 4 consecutive years that a team from Florida goes to the Stanley Cup
that's
finals.
crazy.
So you
Wow.
have Tampa
Yeah.
Bay the past 3 years, they're out now, and you have Florida that would take their place. Florida has a
Florida's
lot
taking
to
over
be
hockey,
proud of.
man.
A lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans are saying that there was like literally 5 fans in all of Florida. But look at look at their building. It's a
Yeah.
hockey town. If you really
Yeah.
think about it, and these last couple of years, it's really grown in terms of people, really enjoying the sport of hockey, and and gaining a lot of attention. But also, I would like to mention that the Toronto and Florida series is very close, probably the closest out of all the
Yeah,
second
there was no
round
blowout.
matchups. There was no blowouts, but they did win in 5 games.
Yeah.
The Devils versus the Hurricanes, on the other hand, it was always a blowout game until the very last game.
Yeah.
So, game one, Hurricanes score 5 goals, they win 5-1. Game two, they score six, they win 6-1. Third game, they still scored 4 goals, but they lost 8-4. The fourth game, they scored 6 goals and they let in one, so they won 6-1. And the last game, they won 3-2 in overtime. So for an offensively gifted team in New Jersey, the Hurricanes really shut the door on the New Jersey Devils and really limited their chances in terms of scoring goals. You have Jack Hughes, Timo Meyer, all those like talented players on that team, and there's 3 out of the 5 games where they only scored 1 goal apiece. That's pretty embarrassing, but
Yeah.
it's also amazing what the Carolina Hurricanes are able to do, and you have to give them credit where credit is due. Not only that, we said that obviously the Devils would win in 7 games, but the Hurricanes would win in 7 if guys would step up in relief for Svechnikov and Tivo Teravainen, who are injured. And that's exactly what happened. And Martinuk is one of those guys. You also have Jesper Fast, who's another guy, and Jesperi Kokiniemi, who had 3 goals in the series and set up the OT winner, setting up Jesper Fast to eliminate the New Jersey Devils. So those 3 guys, Kokiniemi, Fast, and Martinuk, were the 3 guys that we were hoping and we were predicting that someone was going to have to step up if they were going to win that series. That's exactly what happened. So in that regard, we did get that right. But despite our prediction being wrong at the end of the day, we were hoping that series was going to be closer. But let's be honest here. The second round has been fairly one-sided for the most part in terms of matchups. So I'm hoping that in the third round, in the Eastern Conference Finals, and in the Western Conference Final, it's going to be a lot
Yeah.
tighter, and we're going to see six
And
or seven games.
I
But
just want to
I gotta have to go with the Hurricanes in 7 on
yeah.
this one because everyone is stepping up. Everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
Jesse Pugliarvi, whatever, it's expected. Derek Stepan, he's up there in age and not really expecting much. But everybody else is doing exactly
Yeah.
what they have to do. And even if you're not getting a lot of points, if you're playing a shutdown role and you're able to do the little things right, that's what matters. And people are gonna remember that when you win the Stanley Cup or if you head to the Stanley Cup final. But both these two teams, no one really had them on their bingo card or their prediction list, their predictions that these two teams would
Yeah.
be heading to the Eastern Conference Final or potentially the Stanley Cup Final. So it's very
I,
exciting. It's very fresh, and honestly I would be happy if either or win this series, but my heart is saying the Carolina Hurricanes.
I just want to add one last thing. So just because I was just searching this up and I actually find this pretty crazy. So Florida has a 27.6% power play in the league, which if in the playoffs is sixth in the playoffs right now. And out of the remaining teams, they're the second best team in the playoffs with the best power play percentage. However, their penalty kill is atrocious at 65.8%. Meanwhile, Carolina, just to give you some context, is an 18.9% power play, which is really good. However, they're 90% on the PK, which means they don't let in goals on the PK. And that I think could make a huge difference between not only Carolina and Florida, but just in this series because Florida could not keep the puck out of the net on the PK, right? And they have a 65% penalty. Obviously, that has to do with the Bruins series as well. But if Carolina can take advantage of that and score some goals on the power play, and they can shut down Florida from scoring goals on the power play, this could be a special team series as well, where it's like, okay, don't take penalties and you'll be okay. So I think Florida's going to have to clean that up a little bit of their area. I know they did that a little bit against Toronto, but in against Carolina and the fact that Carolina is really good on the power play, when PK, sorry, when Florida gets a power play opportunity, they got to be able to capitalize on it because that's going to make a difference in the
But
game.
also like to mention a couple of key tidbits as well. Jacob Slavin has the best plus and minus at 14 in the
Mhm.
playoffs. You have Kachuk, who's ranked third with 10. You have Sam Bennett tied for fourth with 8. Carter Verhage, 7. Forsling at 6. Ekblad at 6. Stahl at 6. Seth
Yeah,
Jarvis at 6. So, I mean, these teams are, in terms of playing very defensive and also scoring goals, they're good at that. They're really, really good. They're able to defend properly and they're able to score goals as well. So
yeah,
those are key players to look out for as well. But in terms of goals against average, Frederick Anderson is leading the way at
yeah.
with a 1.80. So currently he is the best goalie in the playoffs. But Sergei Bobrovsky has 7 wins. So um, I do have to say that in terms of goaltending, it is a tie. I do have to say that they're both equally good at the moment. In terms of defense, I got to go with um the Carolina Hurricanes because they're able to defend very well, but they're
Yeah,
also able to score. They have a lot more defensemen who have points compared to the Florida Panthers. In terms of their offense, I do have to say
Florida.
that I have to go with the Florida Panthers just because they have a better bottom six. But in terms of their top six, I would say for both teams, if Martinuk and Kokiniemi and Stefan Dolson and Jesper Vass continue to do very well, then I would say it's very close and it would be a tie. So those are our prediction, guys. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Who wins this playoff matchup, the Carolina Hurricanes or the Florida Panthers? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'd love to debate with you guys in the comment section below. But again, let's keep it PG or at least PG 13. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.